Good afternoon, Dr. and Mrs. Lee, honored guests, and good friends. My name is Pat Watson. I have the fortunate opportunity to be the chair of the Richmond Public Library Board. I'd like to welcome you all here today to honor and recognize the outstanding contributions of Dr. Kwok-Chu Lee to the Richmond Public Library, and to thank him for his extraordinary donation of 47,000 Chinese books. This is a wonderful gift that will enable us to provide better services to our community. Please welcome Dr. and Mrs. Lee. At this time, I would like to recognize our guests. His Worship, Mayor Malcolm Brodie. City Councillor Bill McNulty is here as well. Welcome, Bill. Linda Reid, MLA for Richmond East. Alice Tang, representative for the Honourable Alice Wong MP for Richmond. Katherine Ewan, representative of the Hong Kong Economic and Trade Office. We'd also like to welcome many of our special friends who are friends of our Richmond Public Library, including Tung Chan, who is here, a former board chair. Welcome, Tung. Henry Bay, also one of our champions. Thank you. I'd also like to welcome the Richmond Library Board of Trustees, Diane Kauser, Mark Bostwick, Peter Kafka, and of course our Chief Librarian, Gregg Bus. We also are honored to have Richard Lee, the MLA for Burnaby North, who's here as well. Welcome. We are here today to honor a longtime friend and staunch supporter of the Richmond Public Library, Dr. Kwok-Chu Lee. Our friendship with Dr. Lee started in 1995 when he donated 1,800 books to our library. Since then, he has given us many gifts of books and cash, conducted many successful programs and fundraising events. The total value of his donation is over $1.53 million, including over 101,000 books and over $120,000 in cash. We're very honored that he benefits the Richmond Public Library. Dr. Lee is a Renaissance man, a book lover, and a great believer in self-education and lifelong learning. From his childhood experience with public libraries in China, he understands the important role of public libraries in promoting education and lifelong learning in the community. This is the reason he is so supportive of the Richmond Public Library. While we are here to honor Dr. Lee, we also want to recognize Mrs. Grace Lee. We are very fortunate to have her support and trust in the Richmond Public Library. Thank you, Mrs. Lee. We are profoundly grateful for our relationship with Dr. and Mrs. Lee, and besides the donations, they have given our library excellent advice and meaningful encouragement. The staff and board regard them as good friends and appreciate their thoughtfulness. As you would be not surprised, many of our guests would also like to thank Dr. and Mrs. Lee. To start off, please welcome Richmond's Mayor, Malcolm Brodie.
Thank you, Pat. Dr. and Mrs. Lee, ladies and gentlemen, this is a wonderful day. It's a beautiful afternoon outside, and as the Mayor of Richmond, it gives me great pleasure to be here with so many distinguished people from our community. And at this time, I would like to officially thank Dr. and Mrs. Kwok-Chu Lee for their outstanding support of the Richmond Public Library, as outlined by Pat just a few minutes ago. This ardent support has enabled the library in the city to provide many important new community services. The commitment of Dr. and Mrs. Lee to lifelong learning and literacy is an outstanding example for the rest of our community. This gift, the most recent one last year, will promote literacy and expand people's knowledge in subjects such as Chinese culture, in history, in literature, art, and traditional Chinese medicine, just to name only a few. Richmond residents are very proud of our library. It is the envy of the region, and the board over the years, together with the staff, have worked so hard to make it what it is today. It has something for everyone. It has traditional books, ebooks, movies, online magazines, newspapers, computers, music downloads, online language learning, and much, much more. And beyond that, the library is a community gathering place and offers a wide array of programs for people of all ages. Now, within our growing community of Chinese Canadians, the library has a strong reputation as the place to go for Chinese books and DVDs, as well as informational seminars in both Cantonese and Mandarin. Thanks to Dr. and Mrs. Lee's generous donation of books and funds, the library has been able to build an excellent Chinese collection. The library also recently offered a 2-week series of programs in celebration of the Chinese culture, and during this time, community partners shared their expertise on topics like Chinese calligraphy, literature, seal carving, medicine, and culture. These highly successful programs were all inspired by the Lee's generosity and gave the public the opportunity to learn in a relaxed, comfortable setting. Dr. and Mrs. Lee, it is your generous contributions to the cultural life of Richmond that set such an excellent legacy, which will encourage others in the community to follow in your footsteps. It will enrich the lives of everybody in our community for many, many generations to come. And we would like to once again say thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mayor Brody. Now, please welcome Ms. Alice Tang, representative for the Honorable Alice Wong MP for Richmond, to present a letter of commendation from Prime Minister Stephen Harper to Dr. Lee.
Good afternoon, Dr. Lee and Mrs. Lee. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. I'm so honored to be here this afternoon to represent our Prime Minister, as well as the Honorable Alice Wong, Minister of Seniors, to show our appreciation and recognition to Dr. and Mrs. Lee. Okay. Before that, I'm going to read out a letter that's from the Honorable Prime Minister Stephen Harper. Dear Dr. Lee, I was heartened to learn from your generous donation to the Richmond Public Library. I am delighted to extend my warmest commendation as the library honors you with a special recognition ceremony. Richmond is a vibrant city and a proud home to a large Sino-Canadian community. Your impressive gift of over 47,000 Chinese books over close to 2 decades has enhanced the library's collection and will endure the future generations have access to a vital part of our heritage. This thoughtful gesture leaves a remarkable legacy of learning. On behalf of my colleagues in the Government of Canada, I once again commend you for your great spirit of philanthropy. Sincerely, the Right Honorable Stephen Harper, Prime Minister of Canada. And also our Minister Alice Wong has a letter of appreciation as well to Dr. Lee. Dear friends, today we are gathering to recognize a very important person in the Richmond community. Dr. Kwok-Chu Lee's contributions to the Richmond Public Library are simply astounding. Over 47,000 books with a value of over 1.53 million. What is extremely important about Dr. Lee's donation is that it will indeed last for ages. Readers of the future will be able to pick up one of the many books and immediately be connected to those of us here today. all made possible through Dr. Kwok-Chu Lee. The books in Dr. Lee's donation has been called a national treasure, but I think that we can all agree the man behind the donation can also be called a treasure. Outside the Ironwood branch is a plaque inscribed with lifelong learning is a foundation of success. In his effort to ensure that others be given his foundation, Dr. Lee has helped pave the way for future generations to continue a lifelong journey in literacy. Dr. Lee, thank you for everything you have done for us here in the Lower Mainland and for the Richmond Public Library. On behalf of Minister Wong, I would like to present the certificate to Dr. Kwok-Chu Lee in recognition of his outstanding contribution to the community. Thank you.
Thank you again, Ms. Tang, and our thanks to Prime Minister Stephen Harper and to Honorable Alice Wong for those gifts. We appreciate it much. And now I'd like to ask Ms. Linda Reid, MLA for Richmond East, to say a few words on behalf of the province of British Columbia. Linda.
Thank you very much. To Mr. Bus, thank you for inviting us into your home. We do appreciate it. And that is the beauty of this library. It is a home. People come here. I'm delighted to see my former colleague, Greg Halsey-Brandt. Richard Lee has joined us, our MLA. And I'm joined by my two virtual colleagues today. John Yap, our Minister of Multiculturalism, is not with us, but he has sent his very best wishes, as has Rob Howard. I think I can speak collectively on behalf of the three Richmond MLAs that this library is a gift. There's no question. And to have an individual of Dr. Lee's stature gift this library with something so special to him is hugely important. I stand before you certainly as a Deputy Speaker of our legislature, but I think more importantly as a former teacher. There is no greater gift in this life than the gift of literacy. Books provide travel experiences, they provide comfort, they provide connection, they provide association. They take you to places that you may not necessarily be able to visit firsthand. That gift will reside in the hearts and minds of youngsters and adults, all of us of all ages, forever. There is no stronger memory association than books you've read, conversations you've had about journeys you've shared with others. Hugely important. So to honor, on behalf of the province of British Columbia, Dr. and Mrs. Lee, I am touched by the opportunity to do that today because I think it's vitally important that we say thanks to those who give so freely to community, because it is that gift that strengthens community. So I thank you all most sincerely for being here, for the library board who make these events possible, and for donors who give back to community. We appreciate you. On behalf of the province of British Columbia, I thank you most sincerely, and I'll make my presentations directly to Dr. and Mrs. Lee. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Now we would like to welcome Ms. Katherine Ewan, Principal Consultant, Western Canada at the Hong Kong Economic and Trade Office, to say a few words on behalf of the Hong Kong Economic and Trade Office in Canada. Thank you. Welcome.
Thank you. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, it's my honor to represent the Hong Kong Economic and Trade Office to join the platform guests here, and also the Richmond Public Library Board, and also the Richmond Public Library Trustee, and all the dignitaries here to congratulate Dr. K.C. Lee on the occasion of this recognition ceremony. Dr. Lee and Mrs. Lee, Dr. Lee is from Hong Kong, and it is very touching to see Dr. Lee as an immigrant by virtue of his value and quality has contributed to the local community and in bridging the gap and in bridging or fostering a closer cultural and economic tie between his place of origin and also the local community. On behalf of Hong Kong Economic and Trade Office, and as a Canadian, I salute Dr. Lee on his achievement. And it's really touching to see that immigrants like Dr. Lee will be our role model and to make this society a better place and to contribute to Greater Vancouver in this very beautiful city of Richmond. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Last year, Dr. Kwok-Chu Lee donated 2 houses full of Chinese books to our library, approximately 47,000 books. These books reflect his interests and depth of knowledge on a range of different subjects, including art, calligraphy, literature, classics, history, politics, language, culture, medicine, business, economics, Buddhism, and more. The list continues. There are editions of many classics, as well as huge, multi-volume works by famous writers and authorities in various fields. There are also many very old and fragile books in traditional binding that are valuable because of their age. From the condition of the books, it is clear that Dr. Lee cherished them and took exceptional care of them. The collection has been described as a national treasure by our professional book appraiser. We're extremely lucky to receive this marvelous gift. During the last 2 weeks, the library has offered a series of programs called the Celebration of Chinese Culture in honor of Dr. Kwok-Chu Lee. Every day there were seminars and workshops on Chinese art, calligraphy, seal carving, literature, medicine, language, and culture. We also held a Chinese couplets competition. The winners will be announced following this ceremony. These programs were inspired by Dr. Lee's generous donation. We would also like to thank the Richmond Chinese School Foundation for their support, which made it possible for the library to offer these programs. Please join me in thanking Dr. Kwok-Chu Lee and inviting him to please say a few words. Ms. Wendy Jang will assist with the English translation. We'll do this in just a moment as we get the microphone over. Okay. We will do that after. Let's do this.
佢話叫你講先喎。
多謝各位。
Thank you, everybody.
今日咧，我有個機會咧喺 Richmond 圖書館咧講説話咧，都多謝咗我爸爸對我教導，因為佢對中國嘅學術咧都好重視啊。喺呢幾十年，我今年67歲啦。喺呢幾廿年裏邊咧，我都讀咗好多書。依家捐出嚟都4萬幾本書咧，其中係我嘅藏書一部分，仲有一大部分喺香港冇人嚟嘅。我希望都將佢運埋嚟呢度，等中國嘅書喺海外咧都可以植根啦。
I'm really happy to be here today, and it is because of my father that I have the opportunity to be on the stage. My father valued learning and Chinese learning a great deal, and it is his teachings that influenced me. I have many, many books. Some of them are still in Hong Kong, and I would like to send them here for the library.
其實我唔係一個幸運嘅人，我14歲就冇咗爸爸啦。咁呢幾十年咧都係靠自己艱苦去到自學、自修，同時咧就訪問一啲名師宿儒咧，得到一啲學問嘅啫。咁其他嘅時間就係讀書，呢一啲書咧都係我讀過嘅。 我送俾圖書館度幾萬冊書啦，就算每一冊咧都攞一頁出嚟咧，都夠煮一餐飯㗎啦。
I'm not a lucky person. My father passed away when I was 14. I gained my knowledge through reading and through talking to some well-educated people. But I like books, and I've collected books. And if you can take one page out of every book, you can make a meal out of it.
中國嘅書咧源遠流長，我捐出嚟啲書咧喺中國戰代時候咧到現代都有嘅。咁其中咧就係中國文學、中國歷史同埋中國哲學最多。因為中國歷史咧，你如果唔了解咧，你根本就冇法子讀熟中國嘅書。我捐出嚟呢種書咧，都希望對各位有用，因為咧喺呢個地方咧，我睇過好多圖書，睇過好多書店咧，都冇呢類書㗎。咁呢類書就除非你唔做學問，你做學問咧，你一定需要㗎。咁就對於做學問嘅人咧，呢個係一個好嘅消息嚟嘅。同時咧，呢種書咧，都係經我讀過嘅，有我啲筆記喺入邊嘅。咁多唔少咧，你都會睇到我嘅心血喺度啦。
Chinese books have a long history. Of all the books that I've donated, most of them are on Chinese history, Chinese literature, and Chinese philosophy. It is very important to have a good understanding of Chinese history. Most of the books that I donated, I've read, and they have notes that I've put in them. Then you can understand my thoughts better.
喺呢幾種書裏邊咧，最有用嘅咧就係13經。嗰個13經咧嘅注疏咧都係好有名嘅。咁喺呢度咧根本就好難揾到啦。我睇過好多書店咧都冇呢啲書嘅，因為呢本書裏邊係13本經書。差唔多咧，你有13本經書喺度咧，對中國古代嘅文化咧都了解得好多啦。咁我希望各位咧能夠善用呢一批書，成為一個有學問嘅人。
The most valuable book is the 13 Classics. It's made up of 13 Chinese classics. I've checked the bookstores here. None of them have this work, so it is very valuable. So if you want to know Chinese culture, you have to be familiar with the 13 classics. And I hope that this donation will help everyone gain a better understanding of Chinese culture, have better knowledge.
最後咧，我講讀書嘅方法。我讀書咧就係、因為咁多書你好難讀晒啊。咁我係有一類讀書嘅。喺呢一個時間，我讀哲學書咁。咁咧我就根據時代咧去讀噶，就係先秦啦，到朱子啊，咁由先秦朱子到漢代，由漢咧當唐到唐，咁樣咧跟住啲朝代嘅轉變咧去睇呢個潮流嘅。中國嘅書實際上好深，藏裏邊嘅收藏咧係豐富嘅，對人生嘅哲理、對人生嘅做法係有好大嘅裨益嘅。咁我希望咧各位都能夠從我呢啲書裏邊得到益處。
I'll tell you a little bit about how I read books. I set aside certain period to study certain topics. For example, in philosophy, I would start with the earliest works from the Qing Dynasty, and then the various philosophy, and then the Han Dynasty, and so on and so forth. I really hope that everyone will be able to read the books and gain benefits from this donation.
我所能夠講嘅就唔多啦，多謝。
Thank you.
Thank you very much. We'd now like to ask, just move my notes a bit. Han Ning to speak. Welcome.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Dr. Lee. On behalf of Chinese Consulate in Vancouver, I would like to express my thanks and respect to Dr. Lee. Just like he said, he donated the books. Would like to more people to learn the book from the book and understand the Chinese culture. The city of Richmond has the highest percentage of Chinese residents in Canada. As a classroom of the general public, the Richmond Library has been working hard in changing his Chinese language books collection in order to offer more service to the growing Chinese immigrants. I'm very pleased that the library with 70,000 items of Chinese collections now. It is one of the largest Chinese collection in BC. So, congratulations. Today, Dr. Lee will donate his own 4,700 books to the library, adding to his large amount of his donation since 1995. It will be a good help, not only for the library to prize the knowledge, but also for people here to know more and enhance the Chinese culture. So, thank you, Dr. Lee, for your generosity. And I want to wish you longevity and health. Thank you very much.
Now I'd like to invite the Chief Librarian, Mr. Gregg Bus, to present a token of our appreciation to Dr. Lee.
Dr. Lee, you have been a friend and supporter of the Richmond Public Library for over 17 years. During these years, not only have you been very generous with your donation of books and money, you've been also extremely freely giving with your time and your expertise in conducting numerous public seminars and workshops for the community. I think even just his brief remarks today give you an indication he loves to teach. And he's not pedantic about it, he's very practical. He wants you to learn, and that's his big goal here always, is to do whatever he can to help individuals. And he's done so much more for the library than just the donations or the seminars. You've been a friend, an advisor, and a source of inspiration to all the library staff, and to me in particular. Your trust and confidence in the library's ability to carry out your vision of the importance of books and learning in order to achieve a happy and productive life has encouraged all of us here at the library to stretch and to achieve, in many cases, more than we even thought was possible. Dr. Lee, thank you for your generosity, thank you for your marvelous collection, and most often, thank you for your friendship. You have truly been our coach, And as such, we want to acknowledge you as our team leader and present you with this trophy as a small token of the esteem and affection we all feel towards you. Yes.